Hi, everyone. I'm Raj with Sickbay. Sickbay is software that collects and delivers physiologic data at scale. Today, I'm joined by my colleagues, Mishan and Curtis, to talk about how Sickbay could have been used to improve care. Thanks for joining us today.
Hey, Raj. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm all right. How have you been?
Hey, I'm good. Hey, Mishan.
Hi, Curtis. Thanks for joining.
Hey, thanks.
All right.
Thanks.
So I know that, you've been here for a few years and, we've gotten to know you and your background. Talk a little bit about what brought you here, what brought you to MIC.
Sure thing. Happy to tell the story. I tell it a lot. It's the reason why I got into healthcare. So a while ago, back when my daughter was 8 years old, so many moons ago, she was diagnosed with Crohn's disease. And one morning we woke up and to the sounds of her crying and took her to the hospital. And while we were at the hospital, we were in the hospital waiting room in the ER. Luckily, we had a bed, but there were patients out the door, patients in the hallway. It was a busy day for reasons that were unknown to me. And she was complaining that her stomach hurt a lot. And so we thought, okay, this isn't great. We got to get her here. And we were in that ER for 9 hours. And over the course of 9 hours, we saw no fewer than 6 or 7 different teams of 3. It's a teaching hospital, and every team that came in did the same thing. They walked in, they looked at our chart, they looked at me, they looked at Julia, and they did the same thing. They leaned into Julia and said, "Hey, I know you're a little uncomfortable. I'm just going to push on your belly, and we're really busy. We'll try to figure this out." And they did that, and they all did their jobs. And as the day wore on, and while we were in that ER, the pain just kept escalating and escalating to the point where it had gotten really, really bad. And right when things were really hard for Julia and frankly for me, a doc came in with 2 of the residents with her, and she looked at me and she looked at Julia and she looked at me again and said, "Dad, Julia's in trouble. I don't know how much, but she's in a lot of trouble. Just give me a minute." And she didn't ask to push on Julia's belly. She literally sort of zoomed out physically in the room and looked at all of the machines that were connected to Julia at the time, and then confirmed, in fact, Julia was in trouble. And she said, "We got to really take care of her now, because I think something's really wrong." And it turns out this doctor was right. She was sepsis from her pelvic floor to the middle of her lungs, very infected, very compromised. And really, when I interviewed at Medical Informatics, the creators of the product that we sell, Sickbay, I saw Julia's experience embodied and that doctor's experience embodied in Sickbay. The consolidation of all the information so you can see it all at once to try to make the best possible judgment call on what's going on. Fortunately, that doc had the experience and the wherewithal to make the right call at the right time. But those other teams of doctors didn't make the same call. And maybe she hadn't escalated as fast, or maybe she hadn't gotten to that point. But thankfully, this one doctor made the right call. And in my opinion, helped save her life or prevented something from getting a far worse outcome.
Yeah, was it experience? Was it just knowing where to go for the information? We're relying a lot on, these doctors and nurses working so hard, but, doing everything so manually. Now, after seeing our hospitals and our clinicians use Sickbay, in the experience that you saw the doctor use, but they're using it in a tool, what are you most hopeful for healthcare and patients of the future?
Yeah, there's a multi-layered answer to that, so I apologize if I get a little long-winded. The first is that the care for patients means powering the clinical teams with all the information that they could possibly use to make the right best call as early as possible. So there's this efficiency of information that is really critical. And thankfully, the technologies that are out there provide more information than we can possibly absorb. And so the best tools aggregate all that information. The dream is that every patient is treated by a care team that has all that information at their fingertips all of the time. And part of that is, over my 15 to 17 years of being in healthcare, you're presented with patients that have lived through the worst. But you're also working alongside clinicians, nurses, docs, surgeons, anesthesiologists that all have the same nightmare. What patient are they treating that isn't going to make it? And why did that happen in the first place? And it's a really hard situation to watch. So in terms of making sure that family members, the patients, parents, loved ones, friends, family, all know that when they themselves or the person that they love or they're friends with is on the table, that all the information is seen. But also for all of those care team members that deserve that same level of care for delivering care.
So tell us a little bit about Julia. How's she doing today?
Yeah. So about 15 years later, she's doing great. Has taken all the right meds, but at the time, one of the fallouts from that situation was she had 21 centimeters of her intestine removed. And when that happens to you or anybody, it fundamentally changes your life. And thankfully for us, it's a happy ending. She's okay. It's manageable. She'll move on with her life. But being able to provide that for every other patient, and so that every other care team member can experience that joy of watching that patient walk away and live their best life, we owe that to everybody.
Yeah, we do. Certainly. I know we wake up with that every day here at MIC. All right. Thank you, Curtis. We really appreciate that story. And back to you, Raj.
Thanks. Thanks, everybody out there, for joining us today. If you're interested in learning more about Sickbay, or if you are a Sickbay user and you'd like to tell your story, drop us a line. We'd love to hear from you. Until then, thank you, and we'll see you next time.
Okay, thanks.